AM 1060 WMEL. Nominated Business of the Year by the Cocoa Beach Regional Chamber of Commerce. This is AM 1060 WMEL.
This is Joe Steckler, folks, your host for Helping Seniors, the radio arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard County. Our show is designed to provide you our program. Our television, our radio, our print and media are all designed to help you with information, education, and navigating the system so that you get the right element of care or certain types of assistance that assist you. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today in a few minutes after I get through my commercial part of my show introduction. But, our office number is 473-7770 to reach Kay Kaiser, our information specialist. And the beauty about talking to Kay and other people we will have doing the same thing she is once we expand more is that she'll talk to you and she'll hear what your problem is. And generally speaking, she'll find out some other things. And invariably, we find her other ways to help you. And with 67,000 veterans, plus all the widows of veterans that live in Brevard County, we are finding so many people that are living on minimal amounts of Social Security that qualify for the Veterans Aid and Attendance Program, which in some cases brings them as much as $1,400 new additional dollars on a monthly basis, plus access to the VA. It might not affect you, but it might affect a friend or a neighbor. So that's why it's so important you listen to this show and tell other people to listen. But our sponsors for the show, and I'll mention the first one, HandyPro of the Space Coast, and that's the president of that and the owner is Elaine Cook. She's my panelist today. We'll talk to her in just a minute about handyman services. It's something we have never done. Another one is ear care. It's interesting. I went to get a little brush to clean my hearing aid from his audiologist that has an office over on the Space Coast, and I went in there and the people were really nice, and I got my brush and he wouldn't take a cent for it, and I picked a card up, and it was ear care. And ear care happens to be one of our sponsors. So here I am trying to talk them into being a sponsor, and they're already a sponsor. Others include Kindred In-Home Healthcare, the Eye Institute, Solid Bite, Dr. Sheldon. He's changed his name from Solid Bite to Dr. Lee Sheldon Dentistry. Bill Johnson, Illinois attorney. Radio station WMEL AM 1060. Woodstock Hospital Systems, Levin Home Care, Atlantic Shores Rehabilitation, Ebony News Today, and Wendy Handy of the Dale Sorensen Real Estate. Those are some of our sponsors. We're adding a lot more, and we're building a provider network. And it's extremely important that you know what we're doing, because everything we're doing is geared toward helping you. So remember, the phone number at our office is 473-7770, and our website, where you will be able to pick up this radio show, possibly late tomorrow. It'll be archived on our worldwide website, and that is helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. It's amazing what we're picking up. And I got a story I'll tell you on the second part of the show. But right now, let's get to our panelist. And that panelist is Elaine Cook, who is the owner of HandyPro of the Space Coast. Welcome, Elaine.
Hello, Joe. Nice to meet you and everyone else.
I'm glad to have you here. How in the world did you decide to start a company like HandyPro? How did you do it?
I started as an engineer with the space program. And one of my favorite jobs on the space program was called Industrial Engineering for Safety. I was a program manager where we looked at new technologies to reduce the risk to the workforce and the flight hardware and also the public. And we were always developing new technologies that range from software, ground support equipment, up to even robots to help reduce the risk to the workforce.
Okay.
And that's sort of what we're doing with HandyPro. It's the same sort of thing. I'm looking for new technologies. I'm trying to figure out what problems there are with a senior or a person with disabilities to try to keep them in their homes so that they can stay there safely, comfortably, and with increased independence.
So you're one of the ones that got cut in the downsizing and said, heck with it, I'll do something different. I'll use my technology and I'll make something different go. That's
exactly what happened.
You know, when all these politicians get up and talk about the damn American dream, that's exactly what you've done, Elaine. You haven't let it faze you. And you've decided to use your ability to do something different.
Yes, that's true. And there were many people that I met that were accessed from the space program when the space program went down. And they sat there and they said, I can't get a job because I'm a Space Center engineer. I worked on the space shuttle. I'm looking for a job in the space shuttle. I actually got up in front of the Space Coast Technical Network and I said, no, you guys are technicians, you're engineers, you're mechanical, you're electrical, you're chemical, you're a whole bunch of different things that you have so much experience with the space shuttle that now you can push into something new. And that's what I did also.
So how many years has it been now that you started HandyPro?
I've only been in business for 6 months with HandyPro.
HandyPro, you've only been in this business for 6 months?
Only 6 months.
You have 5 people working for you?
Yes.
Do you work throughout the county?
Yes, I have. HandyPro is a franchise that started up in Michigan, so it's headquartered in Michigan. Right now, I'm the only HandyPro in the state of Florida, but I know that they're working on a couple other franchise territories. I have the territory of the whole Space Coast, so all of Brevard County is my territory that we service.
So what does HandyPro do?
We do, as I said, independent living solutions, which are home modifications for seniors and people with disabilities so that they can stay in their homes safely, comfortably, and with increased independence. We go into a home where somebody might not feel comfortable anymore, and we can assess it and come up with different ideas to make it more comfortable and safe for them so that they can stay there and remain in their community with their friends.
Do you do the thinking and the working?
Yes, we do all of it.
You do all of it. So you have people that help assess what some of the emerging needs are, and then you try to develop solutions. And say, let's say if a person needed grab bars installed, you put grab bars in?
Yes, we put in grab bars. We put in roll-in showers. I just got a call when I came in here to we're going to be looking at putting in a tub, a wheelchair accessible tub.
A wheelchair tub?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they want a wheelchair shower?
A wheelchair shower. Well, usually a shower, normal showers have about a 6-inch wall or lip. Lip to get into the shower. Well, you can't get into a shower with a wheelchair with a 6 or 7-inch lip. It has to be completely flush to the floor. So we can do that, and we can take those showers out and actually put in roll-in showers.
Several years ago, my wife and I went to the Holy Land. Think about this now. We went to the Holy Land, and we were going to go up to the mount where the Assumption took place, or the Ascension of the Lord into heaven. And Mount Tabor, I think it is. Well, I couldn't walk up the steps. It was so steep. And they put me in a Mercedes with a couple of other people, and on the steps going up, they had put about a 12-inch wide slug of concrete in 2 places. So the guy driving the cab stayed on that concrete track. Was roughly 12 inches wide for both wheels, and he'd done it so many times he was able to do it. He only got off at one time. But that was quite an experience. Think about this. You could probably, in your modification of a current shower, you could probably put a couple of narrow tracks into and down into the shower so a person could wheel a wheelchair up and down. That might be something for you to think about if you haven't thought about that before, because if you did something like that, it would prevent the water from coming out, because you wouldn't provide a ramp for the water to flow back out of the shower.
That's true.
See?
And we have looked at doing that. It depends on how steep it is and how narrow the shower is. Because
shower door can be too narrow.
Yes. And it can, and if it's too steep, they could go a little too fast. Sometimes it's better for a walker to do something like that because you have more control over the speed on the walker.
Elaine, I have grab bars in my shower at home. And I have fibromyalgia, and I'm 82. And I know I'm unsteady, so I'm very cautious about where I step and what I do. And I can still get into and out of the shower safely. But if it came to a point I couldn't do that, I'm not sure what I would do. But I think this is all the more reason for people that are even begin to think they have problems like I have to talk to a person like you so they can actually figure out ways to do cost-effective ways to modify their home safely so they can stay in their home. What are some of the other things you do? Or how do you look at a home to assess it, to say, we need to take a look here?
Okay, we come in, and the biggest thing are the trip and fall hazards, which is what you were talking about that you have trouble with right now. And that's usually in the beginning. We will look and make sure that there's no throw rugs. That could be an issue. We had met with someone that was thinking about putting down a linoleum-type tile for an area where there would be wheelchairs. That would cause a trip and fall hazard eventually because the linoleum-type tile will not withstand the constant running over of a wheelchair. So we would recommend more like a porcelain tile type. Or there is some of the higher-end vinyl tiles that you could use. But we go through the home and try to talk with the client, figure out where they spend most of their time, what they do, and we can also identify those areas that might have an issue and suggest some options to put in that area to prevent the issues.
Have you come across a situation where a person, like many of our current homes have islands in the kitchen? Have you had to modify an island so that a person with a wheelchair could wheel their wheelchair underneath it, say maybe to eat in the island in the kitchen instead of having a meal, take it into another room?
I have not come across that yet, but I've been in a lot of the training that we've had. That was one of the things that was brought up, and the many different things that you can modify to allow the wheelchair to be accessible and maybe bring the counter down a little bit,
yeah,
or put like a another piece onto the counter that's a little lower.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's just like you actually could probably put a folding table and hook it to the back of a counter so that a person could sit in the kitchen and drink coffee or do something while the other person is cooking. So if they wanted to be where somebody was, I think this is the type of thing that we're going to have to think more about as seniors, as we get more seniors. We just can't go out and build new homes. We can't do that.
No, we need to modify what we have, and we don't want to build. The seniors want to stay in the same communities that they're in. They have so many of their friends and their family and their whole community structure. So when you're dealing with aging or you're dealing with the disability, I don't want to have to think about dealing with new friends and new family structure in another area, and then also a new home. Why not stay in your home with the people you know, the friends that you know, the part of your community that you know, and work on trying to get better with them?
And have you found that it's, or have you had an experience like maybe the older people that needed the home modified? how difficult is it at times to convince the children that the homes can be or need to be modified? Do you have problems in working with the older and the younger generation to assist the senior? Do you have any stories in that area so far?
I don't have a specific story yet, but we have come across that somewhat. But again, when we had the training, they did explain that everybody's got to be involved with the discussion, including the occupational therapists, too, that are working with the person. And it should be a whole family discussion with the seniors and the family so that we all understand where we're going and we understand the different options that are available. And they become part of the solution.
Okay. You just opened a new thing to talk about. I assume I made an assumption about the type of work you did, but I think I'm saying two things. You work with people that have absolutely no medical needs, but are preparing for what they might need to do just simply as they age. But on the other hand, you have clients that have medical needs already, and you're trying to figure out ways to develop a solution for them. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Is HandyPro, what type of construction do you do? What kind of construction can your company do? If people listening to the show are wondering, a lot of people, Elaine, may not want to do something to their own home, but they have friends that need this, and they don't know how or where to go to talk to somebody about telling them where to go for help. And that's why the radio shows and the television shows are so good about informing people. So I think what you can tell people might make a difference for somebody understanding what can be done.
Yes, we can do small things, as you were saying, with grab bars. We have some very good products that are available that they might not be the cheapest things out there, but they're the things that are going to work. We make sure we have quality products that they can take the 500 or 600 pounds that might be pulled on it. Some of the stuff that's easily gotten from like Home Depot or Amazon might not have the ability to take the load that you're going to get from somebody falling and grabbing onto it, which is a large load depending on how big that person is. The other thing we have, we'll do the full remodels. We have artistic people, too, that can make a home, even though it might be accessible and safe, it can also look aesthetically pleasing. And we bring that in. So we can do a full remodel. I actually do have a contractor that works for me. That's Chuck Becker. He has a license as a building contractor. And so we can do a number of things. We can even expand, maybe add another room on for the in-law quarters. Or if there's somebody with a disability and they can't access the rest of the home, but they want to stay in that area, and it's very difficult to remodel for them, which I've had this before because of the home being, people living in the home, and you can't get rid of one of the rooms.
Okay.
So for one way to do it, you do a suite. You'd expand into a suite.
I want to ask a question before the break. We won't finish it, but we'll come back to it after the break. Have you looked into the area of Medicaid funding or any kind of assisted funding to help people if they come to you for construction? Have you thought about that yet?
Yes, we are working on becoming a Medicaid state provider for the state waiver system. We are not there yet, but we should be within the next couple months.
To who? Who would you go this with?
This is with the state waiver for Medicaid. Actually distributes the money and has the money managed via the states. And in our state, it's the University of South Florida that is actually in charge of managing that money and has the people that come in and assess your home. Then they go out and they find a provider for that, and they send that provider to you to do the modification that they feel is required.
I always find out something by asking questions. I do want to talk to you about that after the show, but right now we're going to take our break, and we'll be back about 2 minutes after the break.
AM 1060 WMEL.
This is Joe Steckler, folks, for Life Guy, with the second half of Helping Seniors, the radio arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard County. I caused a little problem there at the break. I took my break a little bit earlier. I misread it down, and I caused a little problem. So I apologize if I cut anybody short. But right now we're back online, and we've got it all worked out. I want to remind the people our phone number for Kay Kaiser is 473-7770 if you want to contact Kay about anything, our sponsors, or whatever kind of service you might need. Sponsors for the second part of the show include Ear Care, Riverview Senior Resort, which is now taking applications, and they've got a resort. Down in Palm Bay, folks, that is going to be stupendous. They have a complete river view. They probably have the best river view of any retirement-type community living you're going to find around. And I had two of the ladies on a TV show, and they were really, really excited about what they're going to be doing. So other sponsors include Senior Scene Magazine, Hometown News, Spotlight Magazine, Seniors Helping Seniors, Ebony News Today, The Fountains of Melbourne, Beth Courtney of Braswell Financial, Barbara McIntyre of Home Equity Loan Specialist, and she is really turned out to be finding a lot of people that are availing themselves of her help, folks. You know, it's just like talking with Elaine of HandyPro of Space Coast. There are so many things that we can do out there to help ourselves. We just simply don't know about it. And why give away the farm when you can keep the barn door shut and keep the farm for yourself? So that's what we talk about, how to try to do things here on this radio show. The other sponsors include Vitas Hospice, Wiedemann Malik Attorneys, and Canadian Meds of Melbourne, and Joe Pons at Canadian Meds has sure been able to help people with their drug purchases. You know, I realize how fortunate I am because I'm a 38-year military veteran. I checked the other day, and folks, my medicine cost, had I not been a veteran, would be roughly $9,000 a year. So I do understand the need for all of us to get the right information out there so that people that are living on very limited and small incomes can do more to help themselves with their medications, with their living, and that's why we try to make people aware of the many resources that are available to you here in this county to help you live as easily as possible. I know it's not going to be easy for a lot of people, but if we do better planning, and that's what we want to talk about on the second part of the show. When talking, we got Elaine Cook of HandyPro of Space Coast. I found out it's a franchise company throughout the United States. But Elaine, it was one of the things she had sent me. They have something they call a phased approach to modifying your home, and I think it makes sense for more people to start thinking about it because so many of us do modifying, and there's ways, aren't there, Elaine, to do this phased approach. What do you mean by that?
Okay. When I started into the HandyPro franchise and they started talking to me about universal design and visitability, that means that your first floor is accessible to everybody. And I was like, why would I want to do that? Well, then I started thinking, I am also the president of our dog training club. And I do have a few of our members that are in wheelchairs or walkers. And I was having a Christmas party, an annual Christmas party. And before I stepped into this role with HandyPro, I did not even think about making my home accessible to anybody. And it's accessible to everybody. And it's definitely not accessible to a wheelchair or a walker. I have many steps to get into the home. The doorways aren't necessarily big enough. So this year, though, I thought, well, why don't I look at it? So I started looking into a temporary ramp. So I now have a temporary ramp that comes into my home. I do have a double door in the front, for the front door, so that makes it wide enough.
We have that.
Okay. And yeah, we had that. So I just put in a temporary ramp, which is, probably a couple $100. And then we actually put in for the bathroom, the first floor bathroom, I put in a grab bar that actually is a toilet paper holder too. And it's shaped in such a way that you wouldn't even know it was a grab bar. It looks really nice in the formal bathroom too. So it now allows somebody to go, and use my facilities on the first floor. And when I explained that to all my membership, people were so happy. And I did not understand that would make them so happy. So then I started thinking, well, what about other people? You probably have family members that are either, starting to get aged and need the walker or have disabilities, and they've been cut off from entertaining with you. They've been cut off from living, with the fun that you've been having in your home where you deal with your whole community, but they've been cut off from it. And if you make your home accessible and when you do the remodel, because when you do a remodel, you're going to be putting, $10,000, $20,000 into a remodel. Why not just add a little bit more to that and put in the really nice grab bars, put in, a temporary ramp, make sure that the doors are widened enough so that it's accessible to anybody, especially on the first floor. And then you just roll that all into a home equity loan that you probably used or a home equity line of credit that you were using for that remodel. And it allows you to enjoy everybody.
One thing you hit on is intriguing to me because with my fibromyalgia, when I go someplace, if the bathrooms are not handicap equipped, it's extremely difficult to get up from some commodes in people's homes. The way they have built her home, there is no way to place either your right or left hand for leverage except on the toilet seat to use your arm strength to compensate for weaker leg strength. But if the toilet paper holder was, in fact, a grab bar in almost all homes, you would have the leverage either from your right or left hand to get yourself up not only more easily, but safely and preclude the danger of falling. That's the first time I've heard about grab bar type toilet paper holders, Elaine. That's yeah, people see. Until you have somebody like us on a show, we don't think about the things. The other thing that I think, do you get many calls for the new toilets, the higher toilets?
I've gotten one call for that. Most people have not been having issues with the commode. They've been having issues, as you said, more with pulling up. So they haven't wanted to replace the commode. They've wanted to put in the grab bars around the commode so that they can get up off the commode.
But frankly speaking, and let's just be very, very honest on this part of the show. You can go to all these stores, Walmart, Target, all of them. You can buy portable chairs to put over the toilet. Got plastic seats on them. They're higher. There's a space down between the toilet. They're not as sanitary as a regular toilet. There's just no way you can do that. In many cases, I don't think they're that safe. They can be wobbly. So instead of spending all that money for that, having something also unsightly and is not nearly as sanitary, why not just spend a couple $100 and put the new toilet in with a water saver bowl so it'll save you money on your water bill. Because over a period of time, you will pay for the cost of the home improvement, both from an appearance side and from a safety viewpoint and an ease of a person getting up and down off your toilet. You may not need it, but somebody coming into your home may.
I agree with you, and I think we should be pushing those more.
What are some of the other things that you can do? How about making some doors wider? As a lot of homes have pocket doors, and I would think that with a little thought you can almost modify almost all openings to accommodate.
Yes, and they have, if you don't want to completely widen the door, there are things called swing clear hinges that you can actually buy at Home Depot. And they actually push the door out another 2 inches. So it gives about 2 inches more to the width of the door instead of taking the whole door frame down and making it wider. So that's if you can get through with the doors that you have. Most of the older doorways, though, are 24 inches. So making it 24 inches, you still aren't going to be able to get a walker through or a wheelchair through. So it's better to expand it. But if you can't, the swing clear hinges are great.
Well, I'll put myself in a report. When we built our house, one of the bedrooms we converted into an home office for me, and we bought a couch. Beautiful leather couch. Wouldn't go through the door. We put like a shrink wrap stuff around the couch, try to squeeze the leather, it still wouldn't go through the door. So I'll call a guy, and he says, I'll fix it. So he took the door jamb out of the door, and it created probably 8 to 10 inches. Mm-hmm. We got the couch in there, but the only way we could ever get that couch out if we moved, I doubt we will move, but the only way to get the couch out is we'd have to take the door frame back out.
That's correct.
So if I'd have been smart, instead of probably to get the couch in and get it out, probably cost me $500-600. I could have spent less than that and modified the door frame to have maybe wider in the first place.
That's correct, and that would probably have been the best idea.
Yeah, it would have been, because I didn't think about it. That's the value of having a person that has the experience and is learning the way you are, Elaine, to have him come in and see how we can spruce up older homes at a lesser cost and what we could do. I liked your thought about doing something in a remodel or when somebody gets sick. Have you've got many calls from people that are going to hospital, that are coming home, and you find that's an avenue for business?
Yes, I have found that's an avenue for business. Usually they don't know where to turn. And when they do find us, they are very happy to find us. And we can come in and try to figure out what we may do. Sometimes, though, they're going to rely on the public funding, such as a Medicaid waiver. Or they could be looking even for some of the funding within the locality, like grants and things like that.
Medicaid waiver will pay to do these things?
Yes. The Medicaid state waiver will pay to have things done, like if somebody becomes a paraplegic and they are qualified under the state waiver program.
Okay.
They can have the University of South Florida would come in and evaluate and assess the situation, assess the home that they're in, and then come in and they'd show you a provider, which we will be in a couple months, who can come in and fix your home. The issue with that is that it could take a large amount of time before an evaluation can be made, before the funds are available. That's why if we could do as much as we can when we do like a remodel, then there isn't as much that you're waiting for the insurance to come through.
What are some of the ways? I asked Elaine if she could discuss some of the ways this is paid for. One of them is through the Medicaid waiver program. What are other ways? Are there insurance? What?
Yeah, there's some of the long-term insurance policies. I know it was for long-term health, maybe in assisted living facilities. Since the assisted living facility system is pretty much, we have a large waiting list for some of these facilities. Some of the long-term health care insurance policies will actually pay for home modifications so you can stay in your home. The same thing with the Medicaid state waiver that we were talking about before. There are things such as Aging Matters, which we have in Brevard County, that can come in and give you a grab bar and do some of the smaller things for, and that's for free.
But you know one of the problems with Aging Matters and giving you grab bars and things? Were you aware that a person had to own their home before they could do that?
No, I did not.
See, this is a problem that we make assumptions that all these things that we hear about do all these good things, and we contribute and we fund these programs. Yes, Aging Matters will put grab bars in, will put elevated toilets in, will put ramps in, but you have to own the home. You cannot rent the home. And that's a local decision, because I went and checked the federal regs out on it under the old American Act. And I don't understand why Aging Matters made such a decision. It doesn't make sense to me. And what particularly aggravated me was a year ago, I had a call from a submarine veteran, 23 years in the Navy, and he'd had an amputation. And he still had the clamps in his leg, and he lived in a trailer north of Pineda, and the only way he could get in and out of his trailer was to use his rear end and arms to go up and down steps, because he couldn't walk. Right. He had no way to do it, had no help. So that man leveraged himself up and down steps on his rear end. He called me for help as with helping seniors. Well, we worked. We got him around for 3 days. But that's why it's so important to have programs that will advocate for seniors. People might say, well, why is Joe having HandyPro of the Space Coast on a radio television show on a nonprofit? But you're a sponsor. But what you do makes sense to help people stay in their homes that want to stay in their homes. And too often people are put out of their homes because simply think these older homes, and we've got a huge number of people who live in older homes in Melbourne, they can still be made attractive, they can be made safe, and the cost is certainly much less than going into a nursing home or assisted living facility.
That's very true, and it also adds to the equity of the home at times, depending on the modification.
What was that, Elaine?
Well, if you're remodeling your home and you're going to add some grab bars that are very beautiful, and we have some very beautiful grab bars, so that you have a home that's accessible, but it's still beautiful to look at.
Okay.
The equity in your home would go up.
Okay. It doesn't have to look like an institutional.
That's right.
A stainless steel polished bar, which I have in mind. It's not a laughing matter, folks, but it is a laughing matter. I just finished an article for publication in Senior Scene, Hometown News, and all of it, and I talk about the value of information and what information can do, and how so many of us fail to recognize that there are ways we can help ourselves, particularly through the use of walking devices. So many people have a misguided sense of importance and saying that, well, I don't have to do that because I'm not going to fall. All right, and in your case, Elaine, I'm not gonna need home modification. I didn't think, 15 years ago, I would ever have a problem walking like I do today, but I have that problem. So one of the reasons I talk about my own problems is because I hope that people that listen to the show will recognize that Joe Steckler is not ashamed to say I need help. I use a cane. I think talking to somebody that can help make my home safe is a smart thing to do. What else can you tell our listeners, Elaine, that why they should talk to somebody like you that's a technology person that has decided to make a second career in saving homes for people?
Okay, that's a good question. Because I'm an engineer, and I am a professional engineer, I put together puzzles. I'm always looking at problems and trying to find the solutions. And that's what is so cool about this company and what we do in home modifications and remodeling. We also have a certification in environmental access consulting and also a certification in aging in place specialist. And I've also gotten the executive certificate in home modifications from the University of Southern California, their College of Gerontology. So I've been trained in many of the aspects of aging, what can be, what issues they might have, what issues they might have down the way. So I can help you build a plan. And on top of that, I'm a project manager. I've learned all the planning. I am a project management professional. I have a certificate in that.
So how does somebody contact HandyPro?
We have a number, which is 321-637-8500, and that would be our call center, and they're there to help you and get you an estimate, a scheduled estimate or a scheduled time just to talk with us.
Okay. There's one other thing I want to point out, and there's so much about age discrimination and whether or not females are qualified to do certain things. I happen to think it's a great thing that Elaine Cook has decided to use her engineering technology in order to help save homes, because you bring a woman's aspect to it, bring things that a man may not see. So with that, thank you, Elaine, and I thank you, listeners, for listening today. We'll be with you next week, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joe.